most of the things that you do in your life are controlled by beliefs that you don't even know you have. And a belief is not just another thought that you have. It's a deeply held emotional point of view that you believe is either true or false. And this emotional component of it really has a massive grip on us. This is like the thing that glues that belief to you. Your beliefs are not just this sort of thing that I'm just going to like swap out easily and it's kind of no big deal, but they actually form your very sense of self, reality, and everything in between. Your beliefs are responsible for a lot of the results that you get in your life, in your relationships or in your career, in your personal well-being. Your beliefs are going to determine a lot of the outcomes that you get in your life and the quality of your life. And this is kind of complicated because I'm not really just kind of advocating for like, dude, just change your thoughts and then like everything will kind of magically go away or anything like that. But I'm really advocating for just kind of noticing how deeply our own unconsciousness influences our life and what the consequences of that really are, which is typically a lot of unnecessary suffering. We create, as humans, the overwhelming majority of our own suffering by like a lot, 90 to 95%, and it's totally unnecessary. So by beginning to question your own underlying beliefs, you actually start to find freedom, because your beliefs were very tied into your sense of identity, and it was actually this very constricting and tensing force. It's not comfortable to actually be deeply stuck in just some kind of set of beliefs and be just rigidly attached to them. And it's not comfortable to be so rigid to the point where even when these beliefs are kind of not serving you, you just remain stuck on them. And it's not comfortable to have beliefs that influence emotions inside of you and behaviors that lead to suffering, but you can't even detect them. It's this sort of subtler realm to your mind that doesn't just make itself known, like, hi, I'm here, right? Hi, I'm belief number 5,749, and this is what I am. It's just like this thing that like shoots itself almost into your sort of mental realm, right? And it just kind of starts controlling things. It's just like a repetitive thought pattern, for example, or an emotional reaction, or some kind of behavior you have. It just kind of like arises into your experience, and it just kind of starts doing things so fast to the point where you don't even detect it. So what are underlying beliefs? Underlying beliefs are deep, often unconscious assumptions you hold about yourself, others, and the world. These beliefs shape how you perceive reality and influence your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. For example, if you believe you are not good enough, you might constantly strive for perfection or feel inadequate, even when success is achieved. So I kind of think that's an interesting example, because even if you get success, you're still going to be suffering. You're still going to be stuck in that pattern of unnecessary suffering because it's just never good enough. I'm always inadequate. There's that fundamental layer of unworthiness that's kind of plaguing the rest of your life. So even if, let's say you're in that position where you don't have the thing that you're striving for, even when you strive for it and you get it, you're still going to be highly unsatisfied because your mind wasn't capable of being grateful for. Your mind wasn't capable of being present. Your mind was still this sort of toxic place that's been infected with all these unprocessed emotions and all these distorted beliefs and patterns of thought and unnecessary habits that create suffering. All this conditioning that's all working together. So even when you got what you want, you got bored of it fast, or it created more pain. You wanted to grasp onto it and cling to it and hold it, because that was the only thing that determined your worth as a human being. And the second it goes, so does your sense of worth. It's just so unstable. So there's a lot of power in actually questioning your beliefs. Questioning your beliefs is basically the key to gaining freedom from unconscious conditioning. When you begin to ask yourself, why do I believe this, or is this belief true, you start to separate yourself from these beliefs, creating space for transformation. So why do I believe that failure means that I am unworthy? This is a pretty interesting one, because a lot of us hold this belief that if I fail or I make mistakes, I'm like wrong, stupid, unworthy, bad, etc. And I think one part of this, there's a whole bunch of parts, right? We can say one part is like the sort of unconscious shame and guilt. Another part is kind of how we've also been taught to think about failure growing up, right? In school, if you got an F, you're stupid and it's bad and you got in trouble, right? Whereas in the actual world, failure is a learning opportunity. Failure is totally natural. It's just going to happen a lot. And it's just to be embraced. There's nothing wrong with it. You just make an error and then you just learn, and that's it. No more. And we just simply don't have a good relationship to it. So when you actually begin to question your underlying beliefs about anything, whether it's a limiting belief or in relationships or career or business or politics, when you begin to just kind of look at them and actually just start asking very honest questions about them, they can easily kind of start to dismantle. They feel less real. They feel less solid. And the thing is this ties back to what I said about your beliefs being the thing that really constructs your sense of self, identity, and reality. So when we start to fuck with your beliefs, we start to mess around with your sense of self, with your sense of reality, which is why it's so hard for people to actually question their beliefs. Because when we actually start to dig into this stuff, the ego begins to come online strongly to preserve itself, to continue surviving. It's like this, when your psychological identity is questioned, you actually have a physiological survival response that occurs. You actually interpret it as a threat to your own physical survival. So when you ask a Christian, for example, very fundamentalist Christian, to start questioning his beliefs on Christianity, or if Jesus really is the Lord and Savior, or if like sin is absolute, or if it's just relative, like are we, it's a good and bad relative, or is it just absolute, like he thinks? Of course, this is very difficult for them to do. Their whole sense of community probably comes from this. Their childhood was probably built on it. Their sense of self, their sense of reality, what's true, good, and beautiful, is all resting on that foundation. And it's the same thing with you. So you have that sort of foundation upon which everything is standing. And when we begin to kind of like pull away belief by belief, it starts to collapse all the things that were built on top of that foundation. And not only that, when we take away one belief, a whole bunch of other beliefs begin to come crumbling down. For example, we'll use that Christian example again, because this is very easy. Let's say you just remove the belief that Jesus Christ is Lord and Savior. What's the point of going to church on Sunday morning? What's the point of, going to heaven? I might as well just start, just destroying myself with pleasure now. Like there is no more. How do we know heaven is real? Why do I have to follow the 10 commandments? You see how all this stuff kind of begins to start crumbling down. The second one belief is removed, a bunch of other ones that were connected to that belief, they all start to crumble down. We'll do science now, because why not? Let's say we just kind of remove the belief that consciousness is made in the brain, right? What's the point now in funding our research into consciousness now? We've been doing this for decades. Why would we continue on with this? You see how this begins to actually change the very structure of people's lives, how they earn money, how they relate to people, the relationships that they actually have, what they're actually doing in their life every single day. This has like very lasting consequences to people. So you can see the resistance that starts to come up here, because your mind wants to just kind of preserve its patterns. It just wants to preserve its life for survival, which is wired for survival, not for truth. So then when something happens and a belief gets questioned, right, it just like pushes back immediately, typically. So there's a lot of power in actually questioning your beliefs, because you can actually begin to move away from fear and ego and into just like this open curiosity, this sort of open exploration of life. Totally open, far less free from any bias or sort of like delusion that you have. And this doesn't mean that you can't, let's say, be assertive or like say something is, full of BS, but this means that your ability to look at life and experience more points of view and start integrating hundreds of points of view, now you can actually do this properly. You develop the actual mental flexibility to navigate life effectively. Most people don't have the mental flexibility to actually navigate life effectively. They're too closed-minded, they're too dogmatic, they're too stuck in the conditioning that happened from ages 0 to 20. That conditioning just kind of replays itself. So I want to talk very quickly about how to start identifying your beliefs. You have to actually start listening to your self-talk and pay attention to reoccurring thought patterns, judgments, and automatic reactions that you experience. So these can be signs of underlying beliefs, and a lot of just kind of journaling this stuff down is very helpful, right? What are your habitual thought patterns? Whether it's in relationships about the opposite sex, or about your ability to make the money you want to make or do the career you want to do, or your ability to experience well-being, your experience to heal your mind, your ability to heal your mind, your politics, whatever it is, just kind of writing down these reoccurring thoughts. And I know you have them. I know you have them, right? It's the same fucking thoughts over and over and over and over again. And a lot of these don't provide any real value whatsoever. And I'm willing to bet a lot of these are very limited or highly inaccurate. And even if there is accuracy in them, they're bound to be expanded upon. No idea is just 100% absolutely true. It's at best one perspective with partial or limited amounts of truth within it. So just identifying a lot of the reoccurring thoughts that you have, a lot of the reactions you have. And then you gotta start to actually challenge the source of your beliefs. And before I even move on to that, I want to mention, like I do basically in every video, the power of meditation. Because you need some way to actually just observe your thoughts. To sit down and just watch your mind. Because you're always just reacting to your mind. Check out one of my previous videos, Live with Intention, Not Reaction. You need some way to boost your emotional intelligence, boost your self-awareness, boost your consciousness, start raising your consciousness. Without this, you're going to remain stuck in that conditioning. Because that fundamental level shift that's going to propel you out of your beliefs into something that actually serves you is that shift in consciousness, that raising of your own awareness. And without some actual practice to bring that into your life, you can expect a lot of these patterns and emotions to kind of just replay themselves repeatedly. Kind of just like if you're, let's say, on the couch and you're always feeling dull and numb and unhealthy. Right? In order to actually start to change that, right, a lot of people have to get off the couch, maybe start eating better, or they have to start exercising, basically both for the most part. Right? Let's say you're just kind of, you just kind of feel dull, numb, like you're kind of on the couch and it's just like this exhausting experience. It doesn't feel pleasurable. Or you have to kind of shift, change that pattern and start breaking out of that old paradigm. And that requires a sort of conscious intervention. There's a pattern that's repeating itself of waking up, going to the couch, playing video games, eating chips, for example. And then that has to begin to, that whole system has to be challenged in order to begin to break it. Instead of waking up and then going to the couch and playing video games, maybe you wake up, you do a walk outside, get a breath of fresh air, then you drink some water. Right? And then maybe you sit on the couch for a bit after, because if too much too fast begins to overwhelm the entire system and doesn't work very well. But you get the point. We're slowly interrupting the pattern until something new has formed, because growth and change takes time. You have to respect the rate at which something can change and grow. If you go too fast, it causes a backlash. If you move too fast, right, you're actually going to end up moving backwards. Because again, things can only change at a particular speed without respecting the speed at which something can change, your own mind, your own life, a political system, a healthcare system, an education system, the minds of people, etc. Without respecting the rate at which they can change, you're bound to experience backlash. The change is too unstable. There needs to be that sense of security and safety in the change. So it's the same thing with your mind. Without some way to kind of start becoming aware of it continuously, it's just going to remain the same. Awareness is that sort of intervention that you need in order to bust yourself out of your paradigm and start actually making serious changes. Right? Just like that person sitting on the couch. They can't just remain stuck on that couch in that same cycle over and over and over again. There needs to be something that happens that busts them out of that, starts to create new thoughts, a new set of beliefs, a new set of feelings, a new set of energy, so that they can start to do different things and get different results in their life. And of course, a very important point is just becoming aware of like, okay, I'm doing this habit all the time. I feel dull. I'm on the couch all the time. I feel dull, numb, depressed, anxious, afraid, low energy. Right? I have to shift something up. You got to recognize the problem that you're actually in. If you're ignorant to the problem that you're in, how are you going to solve it? So then you got to kind of challenge the source of your belief. So where did this belief come from? Is it from childhood experiences, societal expectations, trauma and wounding? A lot of our worldview is actually based off of just avoiding pain. Like the overwhelming majority of our worldview is literally just from avoiding pain. We don't want to feel something. And so we just kind of get stuck in a bubble, and it's just kind of bubble of avoidance. Scientists do this, religious people do this, you do this, I do this. This is just a quality of the human mind. This plagues us all. So understanding the origin can help you to see how these beliefs are often outdated or based off of someone else's perspective, or are just ways of protecting yourself against pain. Usually internal pain that already exists inside you that you just don't want to face. So an example, believing that you must work hard to be successful could stem from a parental figure's influence or a societal standard rather than your own truth. Believing that you just have to always be working hard. You gotta work 20 hours a day, get 4 hours of sleep, wake up at 2 a.m. in order to be successful. Right? Like, where did this come from? There's all sorts of stuff kind of floating around on the internet nowadays that's infecting the minds of people. Don't let yourself be one of them. Right? And just kind of begin to actually recognize beliefs when you see them. Start to actually like spot beliefs in real time. Like, that's a belief. Oh, like that's a belief this person has. And everyone has beliefs, right? Beliefs, like, they're fine. Just being aware of them and not being so rigidly attached to them, right? When it serves you, cool, right? You're going to have assumptions in life. Just being aware of the assumptions and beliefs that you make and have can help you a lot. And then just questioning, like, is this true? And then you test it, right? If you test it and it's false, okay, that's it. Let it go. So you just kind of want to have that open mind, that ability to just kind of explore freely, without restriction. So is this belief helping or harming you? Right? When the belief doesn't actually serve you anymore, you got to start to let it go. When it's just harming you, you have to let it go, or else you're going to remain stuck in the cycle forever until something intervenes in that. Maybe more pain to the point where, like, I can't go on. Or it's a conscious intervention where you can actually see what's going on and then actually shift it. And no matter what, if you really want to move up to less suffering, you're going to have a shift in consciousness. You're going to actually have to be raising your consciousness. So really just go with the raising your consciousness aspect rather than the waiting for some kind of pain to like stab me in the butt to the point where like I can't feel this much pain anymore. It's too unbearable. Now I have to change, right? Have some foresight and start to see the patterns that you're in. Write them down. Don't be pattern blind, right? Start seeing them, identifying them in real time in your life, and then determining, where is this going to take me? How do I feel when I'm in this pattern? What's my energy levels like? Do I always feel drained or exhausted? Am I excited by it? Does it bring me health? Does it bring me peace? Do I feel curious? Do I feel, right? Explore it. So evaluate whether the belief serves you and your well-being or limits you. Does it support your growth and happiness, or does it keep you stuck in fear, anxiety, or self-doubt? Is it even true? So moving on, just exposing the falsehoods of your beliefs. So many of our core beliefs are based off of distorted truths or assumptions that are not fact-based. They're not true whatsoever. Exposing these falsehoods helps you to reclaim your power and perspective, because these beliefs actually hold your psychological energy. They're actually robbing your life from you. So by actually recognizing a lot of the delusions of it, there's that pain of like, I'm wrong. And it's like a delusion. I have to admit, yeah, I was delusional. No one likes to admit that. That sucks. I'm delusional. but you got to go through it. I was wrong. And it can be that sort of like mind-blowing moment of like, oh my God, I was stuck in this for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. This is why if you're young, you want to catch this stuff as fast as possible so that it doesn't get to that point where I was stuck in this paradigm for 40 years of my life and I couldn't see it, right? That's a hard thing to admit. It's easier for a lot of people to just turn a blind eye, nope, and then they just keep going on with their life to avoid that pain. So exposing a lot of the delusions of the beliefs you have is really important. So for example, a more innocent one, the belief I'm not smart enough may be disproven with evidence from your successes, feedback, or growth. Next is just learning to reframe and replace limiting beliefs. So changing something like I'm not capable of change to maybe something like I have the ability to learn and grow at any time. Right? Learning to just kind of challenge and reframe. So you question it and then you actually just start creating something new, writing yourself a new story that opens up possibilities, right? There's that element of openness that needs to be taken into account. Opens up possibilities, opens up your mind. A new point of view arises that actually serves you, feels healthier as well. Proactively question to dig deeper. What is the worst that can happen if I let go of this belief? Who benefits from me holding on to this belief? How does this belief shape my life? And what would happen if I believe the opposite? Is this even true? Can I absolutely know it's true? These questions can shift your perception and bring clarity to what is truly serving you. So freedom comes when you let go of limiting beliefs. When you release beliefs that restrict your growth and happiness, you essentially just experience more growth and happiness. That one's a simple one. So questioning beliefs actually allows you to create space for the possibilities that actually allow you to experience more authentic and fulfilling life. And you can just begin to question, how do my beliefs impact my life right now? What beliefs do I have that impact my relationships, my career, my health and well-being? What beliefs do I have that keep me stuck in the patterns that I'm currently stuck in? What beliefs do I have that I believe are just absolutely true? They're completely unchangeable. And again, every idea is bound to either be proven false or be expanded upon. So every idea has maybe a partial truth or it's just like really wrong. And it's just going to be expanded upon. So not rigidly clinging to beliefs is basically the path that you want to take here. So beliefs are changeable. Recognize that your beliefs are not fixed. They are shaped by your experiences, environment, and perspectives. Just as you formed your beliefs over time, you can reform them to reflect the truth of who you are and who you actually want to become. Moving on is just simply living more intentionally. Starting to live from a place of conscious choice rather than reacting from ingrained patterns. This shift allows you to make decisions aligned with your true self rather than your old programming. That's really what this is. It's programming. It's like you're just like executing the same thing mechanically and robotically. It's conditioning, it's programming. It's like you're running on autopilot. You're not even a human. It's just like this computer, robotic, mechanical like machine just like controlling you. It's very mechanical. Right? I want that to click into your mind. Very, very robotic. It sounds just disgusting, right? When we recognize it for what it is. It's robotic, mechanical, unconscious. It's not spontaneous and alive and joyful and creative and insightful. It's just like, eh. Ew, like why would I want this rigid mechanical thing to be my mind? Why don't I make it more healthy, open, spontaneous, insightful, loving? So instead of reacting with fear, you can actually just recognize that you can make a conscious choice. You can recognize that you have the capacity to move beyond just acting habitually out of fear, which is probably the strongest motivator for humans. Fear. This is one of the most dominant forces on the planet. That's it for this video. If you're interested in working with me one-to-one, you can apply to do so. Link is in the pinned comment. Take it easy.